2011, almost 24 public housing structures were torn down. Thousands of people were forced to relocate to neighborhoods where they didn't know anyone, including gang members whose turf had been in Cabrini Towers. 46-year-old Curtis Toller wasn't born in the projects, but as a former gang member, he saw what came next. When the housing projects started to get torn down, how did that affect Chicago with respect to gang activity?
You have to think about folks being displaced, and they were already gang involved in it. Now they have to fight the gang that's already in the community or join up. Now you just have this unregulated chaos with no structure.
This is the world Curtis was born into.
My mom was 15 going on 16 when she had me. My dad was about 16 years of age, so they were really, really young.
Can you talk about some of the things you saw as a boy that kind of paved that path for you?
Yeah, it was another man that was in my mother's life at the time. He probably was a pimp or a drug dealer, or a combination of both. Just to be quite frank, he would beat the shit out of my mother. And he was also physically abusive towards me as well.
When did you join a gang?
Probably 9.
Wow. What was it about gang life that appealed to you?
Family and toughness. I just felt a sense of security. I felt that I could get away from home, from the verbal and physical abuse that was going on.
Curtis's commitment to gang life grew even stronger after he experienced an even deeper trauma.
I lost my mom when I was 17, and she was killed by my stepdad. I was already on this trajectory of being a badass, and that just was the icing on the cake. It changed me, right? So it went from me picking up a stick, bottle, knife, to guns.
By now, Curtis had risen through the ranks and was making a name for himself.
The more violent that I became, I would move up.
The higher he climbed, the more he got arrested. Curtis spent the next 18 years in and out of jail and served hard time in prison for a gun charge. On the streets, the beefs between rival gangs continued and the homicides climbed. Do you think you became desensitized to violence at a certain point?
Yeah, when I think about how many of my friends were killed.
You can have a count?
I'm sure y'all know. My best friend was a twin. And he and his twin brother were both killed, So yeah, the guys who I was involved with in the street culture, gone.
When did you finally decide that you had enough?
When I first started getting thoughts of change was when my son was born, because I thought that I was about to be killed, or I thought that I was going to get so much time that I would never see the light of day again. I think it was maybe 3rd grade, and he was singing this song about Chicago. You and me, you're the inspiration. And I just broke down, and I was like, what is wrong with me? I want to do something different. I want to be here for him. And so from that point on, I was like, man, I'm done.
Like Bobby Gore in the 60s, Curtis had an epiphany and dedicated himself to carrying out the Vice Lord's vision of a violence-free world where blacks could have access to the system and thrive.
We don't make promise to them. Only thing we do promise them that you're going to get a high school diploma, not no GED.
This is CRED, an outreach program primarily led by ex-gang members, dedicated to providing alternatives to gun violence. And it's having great success.
Over the city of Chicago, there was 13 killed and 42 wounded over the weekend. But we didn't have one shooting or one homicide.
The first thing that they need, young guys, is to deal with the trauma. Then the second thing that they need is a way out of the illegal economy, right? So we're paying people to get their high school diploma, to be able to provide them with the necessary resources that they have been lacking for so long.
We have a new brother. How long you been here?
I've been here for 3-4 weeks now.
I've been invited to sit down with a group of young men who are involved in the program and to hear what it's actually like out on the streets.
I got incarcerated for maybe 6 months. Well, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time and got myself into an incident.
All of you guys know that if you don't succeed in the program, you fall off, we're still not closing the door on you. We know what's going on in the streets.
Can I ask you guys if you could raise your hand if you've seen someone get killed? Would you share how old you were the first time you saw someone get shot or killed?
I was 13. That was the first time we ever seen somebody shot, somebody died. It was scary.
Yeah, I was 9 years old, and I knew something was gonna happen. So it was like 3 or 4 guys sitting outside, and they shot everybody.
Somebody gets shot every day. That's just how I grew up with it. Some people chose to be in a gang for survival. Some people chose to be in a gang because they was peer pressured into doing this.
I think it's in our DNA, all of us, to want to be a part of something. And we know that gangs, they're not going anywhere. But I think what we have to do is just to change the mindset.
Do you feel like you're making an impact?
When you get that phone call from a young man who's like, man, I'm just calling because I'm about to go hurt somebody. And you get over there and everybody is getting their guns ready. And that they allow you to have that conversation with them, and then they do something different. That's when you know that you have the impact.
Like Bobby Gore, Curtis is fighting for change, one kid at a time. And for him, the young boy who lost his life on the shores of Lake Michigan in 1919 still matters.
When we think about Eugene, right, and what happened to him, and when we think about all of those other people who made those sacrifices for us to do better, that's going to motivate the forces that always drive us.